What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Frozen Rope Podcast. I am your host, John Hunter, and I am welcomed with a co-host today, a little guest here. We have my man Dave Prinz here. Dave, what's going on, buddy?
How's it going, John? Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Tell everybody what you do.
So I'm the copy editor over at The Buzz, and I also write baseball and most of the other sports, but baseball is my first love. That's why I'm excited to get on here and chat about it a little bit with you.
Absolutely, man. But by the way, this episode is the first episode that we're doing live with The Buzz, and every other episode after this will be with The Buzz. And yeah, I'm pretty excited about the partnership we have here, and we just decided to get it going, and I love it.
I'm excited about it.
Absolutely, we have a couple things we want to talk about today, and we'll do the first and second All MLB teams that are that were announced. I want to talk about Dave Dombrowski and him going with the Phillies. I think that we just me and Dave were actually chopping up before this, and we were talking about it and what we think about it. Then we're gonna do top free agents that are out there, and then that should be a good show for the first one on the Buzz. So, first off, we have the starting pitchers for the first team, All MLB first team. What do you think of them, Dave?
Not bad, actually. I think they did pretty well with the starting pitchers.
There was, yeah, I mean, there was one that I think we all were kind of confused about, and I know it's going to break your soul that I'm going to say this, but as you wear a Braves hat, but Max Fried. I didn't really understand why he was put on the first team. I honestly might not have even put him on the second team. I mean, he had a really good year, and I don't think that we should, ever discredit that because he did have a very good year. But I definitely think we saw other pitchers that were better than Max Fried this year that go on the first team.
Yeah, his injuries are a decent reason to maybe not have him on that first team, although he was lights out when he was on the mound.
Absolutely. I mean,
I have no bias whatsoever.
Oh, absolutely no. I couldn't imagine you had any bias on that. Yeah. But yeah, I was jotting down the two names that I saw that I thought should have been first team, and actually neither of them I don't believe now that I'm looking at it. No, neither of the guys that I thought should be on the first team over Max Fried. Neither of them were on either team.
Oh yeah.
Number one is Corbin Burns from the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
I thought that he should have been the first team. He had a lights out year, very good year, 59 in 2/3 innings, 2.11 ERA, 2.04 FIP, 2.4 FWAR, which was very good. I think he was like fifth or sixth in WAR total for starting pitchers, which I personally would have put him in the first team. And the fact that he didn't make either team, it's kind of a joke to me.
He's a great comeback story too, because he was so bad 2 years ago. He was demoted to AAA. They put him in the bullpen. He was struggling. So yeah, it was pretty cool to see him come back.
Absolutely, it was very cool to see him come back, and the fact that he got pretty much disrespected for coming back was even funnier. I mean, it's just crazy to me because I really think that he should have been on that team. Another one was Luis Castillo.
Oh, okay.
For the Reds, it was. I mean, I like a lot of the Reds pitching this year was just incredible.
It was astounding. Yeah.
I mean, they had Sonny Gray, they had Trevor Bauer, and they had Luis Castillo. Luis Castillo put up 70 innings this year, which I mean, right now it sounds low as shit, but in a 60-game season, he pitched a lot. He did a pretty good year. He had 11.44 K per nine, 3.21 ERA, 2.65 FIP. A 2.82 xFIP, and again a 2.4 FWAR. He had a very, very good year. I think he was also in the top 5 for FWAR for starting pitching, which I truly, truly believe he should have been in the conversation at least, or at least make one of the teams.
Yeah, it would have been a little weird to have Bauer and Castillo as your first team, but
just goes to show how good that rotation was this year.
Yeah, I mean, the Braves experienced that in the playoffs. So
yeah, absolutely. And the way Trevor Bauer tossed in the in the postseason. That game was insane.
That was incredible.
The way he was lights out.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to relief pitching, which I think we both. And it's funny because when we were in that chat, I actually said to you, Nick Anderson's going to make it, and we laughed at it, and then he ended up actually doing it, which I thought was pretty funny. I mean, he had a good year. I'm not going to, again, he's another one. I'm not going to bash for having a good year, but I mean, to be first team relief pitching was kind of crazy. I mean, Devin Williams was better than both.
He was incredible.
Of the guy. He was better than, he was better than both Liam Hendricks and Nick Anderson, and didn't make it. He didn't make it. Did he make? He
is second team.
He was second team. He was second team, which is good. But I probably would have moved Nick Anderson to the second team.
Yeah,
that would have probably been my first move. But it is what it is. I mean, I don't know.
That screwball changeup he throws, which nobody can hit, is unbelievable.
And he's an absolute beast and just gets zero love. But we can also maybe we can also look at Milwaukee Brewers and just see again why another team that just doesn't get any love.
Total disrespect. Yep.
Total disrespect for two pitchers on their team got no love or respect when it comes to this.
Yep.
And then I don't know. I just thought that was just wild to me that they looked at Nick Anderson, who had I think he had like 12 or 13 less innings than Devin Williams too. Like he wasn't like he was like a workhorse.
He got hurt for a little bit, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it wasn't like he was some workhorse who just was out there. And I don't know. I just thought that was kind of and I think did he lose his job too? He was the closer in the beginning of the year.
Yeah, by the end of the year, it was Castillo and Fairbanks may have been their best reliever. Yes,
absolutely. And it's funny that probably the third best reliever they had ended up making first team All MLB. I don't really understand.
It kind of tells you why they were in the World Series.
Absolutely. They had a great bullpen, and it's bullpens, pitching, that gets you there. Gets you there.
Pitching beats hitting.
Which we'll talk about that when we talk about Dave Dombrowski and what he's got to do with the Phillies. It's just a part of it. And then, I'm looking at the infielders, and the infielders, everyone, I liked Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman deserved it. He deserved first team.
MVP.
DJ LeMahieu deserved first team.
No.
Fernando Tatis, I can see why he got first team. I can definitely see why he was first in all shortstops in F4, which he deserved. Which, I mean, if that's how you're looking at it. But again, before I even get further with that, and we talked about this. There's another thing we talked about in the group chat we have. I don't understand why or how they went with voting. They said it was 50% Reuters and experts, but then 50% fans. So 2 million fans and maybe 12 experts makes 50-50.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works. Am I wrong?
And judging by these picks, we should question the experts.
Oh yeah, exactly.
What exactly are they looking at?
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. I'm not sure what they're exactly looking at. I mean, you could just go right to saying that the reason why they want something like guys like, and I think before the World Series, this was voted on, or after the World Series. I think after the World Series.
Yeah, I think it was after. Yeah.
So they probably just looked at raised pitchers and said, "All right, well, I'm going to throw a raised pitcher in there," or you know what I mean? It's just
get that recency bias.
Exactly, and that's exactly what it is. It's recency bias.
Yep.
And there's one infielder that should not have made it to first team, and it's third base. Manny Machado. That sounds more like he's a fan favorite, which he really isn't because everyone hates him. But he's a fan favorite, so he made it.
Yeah. I got to agree. And San Diego, there are some teams in the league. San Diego is one of them that seems to have a big social media presence.
They do.
And that's where Tatis probably got an advantage from that as well. Where these fan vote things end up becoming a little bit of a joke because there's just happened to be Padres fans love the internet. They love Twitter or something.
Absolutely.
And that's why they get that advantage. When, I think we both agree, Jose Ramirez should have had this.
Right underneath here, I have a sheet, and it says Jose Ramirez should be first team third base over Machado. He
Yeah.
actually was the best player, probably other than Freddie Freeman, was the best player in baseball last year.
Yeah.
And you could even say that he was better than Freddie Freeman.
Yeah.
Like,
You could.
played a harder position, and he's a switch. I mean, he switch hits. He does a lot of different things that Freddie can't do. But Freddie was great this year, so I'm not going to ever disrespect Freddie. But that was when I looked at Jose Ramirez, I really didn't understand why he got pushed to second team when he should have been a slam dunk first team.
More of that disrespect. Cleveland Indians are a flyover town, and don't get the love.
Don't say Indians. You're not allowed to say that.
Oh, that's right. The Cleveland team yet to be named.
The Cleveland Washington football team.
That's
what we're going to be calling them from now on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that was that, and now we have outfielders. I'm not so sold on one once again. So Mookie Betts, easy.
Yeah,
Mookie was great,
yeah.
And I'm not saying that because I'm a Red Sox fan and I miss him dearly. I'm not saying that at all. Juan Soto, well deserved. Juan Soto had a great year. Now here's one that's going to rub everyone the wrong way. Mike Trout. I didn't agree with Mike Trout being first team.
Yeah, he didn't. He was good. He was great, but
Absolutely.
He wasn't even up to Mike Trout standards.
No.
He didn't belong on the first team. But you can kind of understand where people looking at a list and say, "Oh, Mike Trout, he's always good," and they circle his name, which is another problem with fan voting.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more. And this is why. And you have a guy like who I believe should have been on the first team was Mike Yastrzemski.
Oh yeah.
Again, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Red Sox fan and Carl Yastrzemski is dear to my heart. Mike Yastrzemski had a absolutely phenomenal year, and he deserved to be in the first team.
Came out of nowhere and just killed.
He did.
It.
Absolutely. And playing in a park that he plays in, it's incredible how good of a year he had. And he was a huge surprise for Gabe Kapler. And I don't know. I was a big fan of what he did this year.
I mean, the Giants being horrible probably didn't help, but it's not like the Angels were great.
No. And that was one thing by the way, a little side tidbit, but that was funny that the Phillies fired Gabe Kapler, and then they ended up having the same record. As the year later. I thought that was pretty funny.
Kapler's done a good job in San Francisco, I think.
Absolutely, he fits better in San Francisco than he does in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I mean, being from here, I can tell you right now, his mindset was just not very Philly. No one really gives a shit what he has to say. He was asking for a curveball machine, whatever that is.
Yeah.
I mean, just I don't know. And
he still can't manage a bullpen though.
No, I mean
he's terrible at that.
No. But. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where why he would do that. But designated hitter, we had Marcell Ozuna.
I love it.
And I love it too. He definitely deserved it.
I mean, and getting 2.5 WAR in 60 games, DHing and playing terrible left field defense means that he hit awesome. I mean, that is 100% bat. The man can't run, and he played in the outfield, and watching him run is extremely painful. And he still racked up league top WAR. Like he just raked last year.
Yeah. So I just count it, and there's what 1, 2, 3. There's 4 players on the first team that are all free agents right now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where we're at right now. There's and we don't know where they're going to be, and we'll talk about that later on. But that's just one, and I thought that was pretty cool that like you're seeing that many free agents at a first team All MLB. This is not. It's kind of rare that you see it like that this actually happens. There's
a lot of talent,
all-stars,
a lot of power moving around the league.
Absolutely,
it's fun.
Absolutely. And then Salvador Perez was the first team catcher. well deserved. Had a great year.
Yep.
I mean, you can make the argument for JT Realmuto,
Sure.
but he got second team. Which, if you really look at the numbers, you should have gotten second team. I mean, I thought Salvy's just when he's healthy, he's a very good player.
Yeah, he's a beast.
Yeah.
And Travis Darno, probably right there. Probably the third or fourth guy.
They were all So when you look at like Fangraphs or anything like that, Salvador Perez's numbers for catcher for some reason do not come up. I guess it has some. I don't know why. It might have something to do with plate appearances, something like that.
Probably qualifying. Yeah.
Probably some type of qualifying or innings or some weird qualifying that they're doing. But he doesn't come up at all. But if you actually like go in, look at Salvador Perez, he was better than both of them, and he deserved to be first team.
Yep.
All right, man. We're gonna we'll move on to the second team, which there's a few first teamers on there. But we had Garrett. I mean, some of the pitchers I didn't really get why they were on it, and again, it could be fan voting that is the reason why they're on there. Two guys were the first two that were named for the second team for starting pitchers: Garrett Cole and Clayton Kershaw. I don't necessarily think either of them should have been on either team.
Yeah.
And again, that has nothing to do with me being a Red Sox fan. I'm not saying that Garrett Cole, being a Yankee, should not be on there. I just genuinely didn't think that he was better than a few guys two of them that we already named, two that I already named. And then I'll throw another one that was better than Clayton Kershaw, Cole, and Hyun-Jin Ryu.
No.
We have Zach Wheeler, who had a great year this year, which is because of how awful that bullpen was. It didn't make him look very good, but he was ridiculously good. He had a very, very good year in his first year with the Phillies. And I know he not proved me wrong, but I made a comment about how I would like to see him be more consistent with how he pitched, because the year prior was his best year, and then the year before that, he was just okay. But he was never the guy there in New York, and he was always like the third guy. And Noah Syndergaard, who continuously gets looked at as his top guy, who can't stay healthy at all. I don't understand why he's ever on a team like that, or people look at him like that. But it is what it is. But
overrated.
I completely agree. I think he's completely overrated. He's a one-trick pony. He either serves a fastball, and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah, he's kind of like how when Cody talks about Tyler Glasnow. He's the exact same way. He's very similar. He just throws a fastball, gets hurt because he rips his arm off pretty much, and then that's it. But and then German Marquez. He had a very, very quietly good year. But again, he plays for Colorado. He won't get the votes that most people believe he should get. You know, I don't know. I think guys like that are, deserve a little bit more credit. But and he pitched well for playing in Colorado, which is a damn box as it is.
I saw something interesting where there was an argument that German Marquez may be the best pitcher in Rockies history. Just because of the way that he performs and his peripherals in Coors, because it's so hard to pitch there. Absolutely. And the Rockies have a really short history and some really bad pitchers. So you could literally be watching the greatest pitcher in franchise history.
You don't think Ubaldo Jimenez or Mike Hampton deserve more?
They may be the guy right now, but it wouldn't be hard to be better. No,
not at all.
Yeah.
I mean, that 2007 World Series team.
Jason Jennings,
was it Francis? Jeff Francis?
Francis.
Yeah. I feel like the one thing I'll always remember about Jeff Francis' career is he threw two pitches. His first two pitches in the World Series in 2007. One was a ball. The second one was a ball hit just over the wall, just over the green monster by Dustin Pedroia. I'll never forget that. And I just remember looking at him like, this is what you guys have been hyping up about, like a humidor that's helping this guy. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, that was I think the starting pitchers for the second team were just kind of blah. Like, it just didn't really. I feel like they just kind of just threw them in there. Like, I think Ryu had a really, really good year. He had a good year, but he had a better year than Clayton Kershaw and Cole did.
Yep.
But Do I think that he deserved to be in second team? I don't know. I mean, yeah, Danielson Lamet, who for the Padres was 5th overall for starting pitchers in WAR, had a very, very good year. He deserved to be in there. He could have even have made a shot at first team.
Yep.
And he definitely should have been in consideration for it. Then Kenta Maeda for the Twins. He finished in 9th. He had 9th in F4, but like he had a good year. He did. He was good there. I mean, that I don't know. Where the offense was always looked at as so great for the Twins the last 2 years. The pitchers kind of were getting overlooked. Jose Barrios, and then you have Kenta Maeda, who both pitched fairly decent.
Yeah, and I thought the year that Maeda had in Minnesota made that trade really interesting because obviously Brusdar Graterol is unbelievable. I mean, average fastball 99 miles an hour. Yeah. So that's a serious piece of talent that the Dodgers got, but they never really – I never really felt they gave Maeda a chance, and that he's actually a frontline starter, and he should be good for a little while for Minnesota.
Absolutely, and Brusdar Graterol should be on the Red Sox. I don't know how that worked out, but he just was. They were just like, nah, he's not going there. He's going to go to the Dodgers instead. They're going to get Graterol and Mookie Betts, and you'll get Alex Verdugo and Jeter Downs. Who I like Verdugo, but that trade still makes no sense to me. But moving on, we'll go to the relief pitchers. They had Brad Hand for the Cleveland Indians, also a free agent.
Yep,
he's another one, and there's Devin Williams, who should have been on the first team. Yeah, the Airbender. He should have been on the first team. But ended up getting onto the second team. He deserves his name out there. He deserved to be on there. So I completely agree with him being on one of the two teams. So that was good.
Sure.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with the relief pitching. It was.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's just finally an Indian got some type of, or a Cleveland baseball team member finally got something there. And it was kind of crazy that it's a relief pitcher.
Obviously, Airbender got disrespected because he should have been first team. But the 100%. Fact that they picked a guy who wasn't a closer, Hader did the closing in Milwaukee, but they picked him anyway, shows that at least they're starting to wake up to the fact that closer is just, it's just a role. It's just arbitrary. Saves are just like wins. You just happen to be the guy at that moment, and that Devin actually pitched better than Hader. So that's at least a sign that people are starting to figure out, how this value thing works.
1 second. And then we had, sorry, my the laptop's dying. I had to get my wife to turn off the charger for it. But so infielders we have. So there's another one where I was kind of okay with 3 of the 4. There was one that I wasn't so keen on. We had Jose Abreu. He was the second best first baseman this year.
Yep.
MVP. Brandon Lowe won it for second base. Well deserved. Had a great year. Minus the playoffs when he was a travesty. So thank God for Randy Arozarena.
Yeah.
Shortstop, this is where I disagree. Corey Seager. Okay. I thought Corey Seager had a very good year. He was the NLCS MVP and the World Series MVP. There's no disputing that he had a very good year.
He killed the Braves, man. Oh.
Yeah, and he's a very good ball player. Yeah. So I'm not disrespecting him and saying that he shouldn't be on. He's not good. What I'm saying is he shouldn't have been on the second team or first team because he was not by any means a first or second team shortstop this year. And I actually named 5 shortstops who actually had better years.
Okay.
We had Trey Turner had a better year. Trevor Story had a better year.
Oh yeah.
Tim Anderson had a better year.
Okay.
Alexander Bogaerts had a better year. And here's your boy, Dansby Swanson, had a better year.
And you didn't even mention Lindor.
And I didn't mention Lindor. You're right. I did not mention Francisco.
A lot of good shortstops right now.
But they are. But I just went off of F4, saw how they were, and they were all 5 of them were better than whatchamacallit, than him.
Yeah.
And I mean, I
a little bit of that.
Corey Seager.
that recency bias because he was just could not get him out in the playoffs, and that
absolutely.
I'm sure that helped him out.
And like I said, he's a 2-time playoff MVP.
No,
So it makes sense on why they would throw him in there. So now we're on the outfield. There is another outfielder. There's another outfielder that I think should have definitely gotten consideration for first team, but it is what it is. There's actually 2 that could have easily been on for first team. We have Ronald Acuna Jr. Once again, you're a boy.
love him.
He was 3rd in outfielder F4 total. So he had a very good year. He was phenomenal, like he always is.
Yep.
You had Michael Conforto. where I'm confused.
I have no clue.
I don't get how. I think they got like, what are they? So total, there were 6 outfielders that were named. 5 of them slam dunks.
Yep.
They did great on 5 of them. I would put Trout on second team. Trout would have been moved to second team for me. Yastrzemski would have been moved to first team.
Yep.
Acuna also has a shot at first team.
Sure. But it's crowded. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crowded. It was a very good year for outfielders. And then the fact that Juan Soto came off of COVID and just decided to just
probably the best hitter this year. I mean, I think his weighted runs created was like 190.
200. It was 200.
200. Yeah. So he's literally twice as good as the average hitter. So he was amazing.
Which is unreal when the average is 100 and his is 200. Like that's just goes to show. I mean, obviously the WRCS Plus was probably a lot more skyrocketed than it usually is. Yeah. But I mean, still to have 200 in the same, pretty much as he had less games, but he played less games, but he still was that much better than the field, than the rest of the players. He raked. They absolutely did. And he's a great player, and I love his cockiness. I love the way he plays, and I like the grabbing of the sack when he's looking at a starting pitcher, when
just staring him down.
Yeah, just staring him down. I mean, it's kind of weird, but I kind of like it. It's yeah, I do. I liked it. And then I do. I'm a big fan of Juan Soto, and I think he's him, Acuna, their play, and to go with Trout, who's still young. I mean, we have a Mookie Betts. We have a very, very good core of outfielders who I hope Major League Baseball learns how to market within the next maybe 10 years. That'd be great because you can market the shit out of all 4 of them.
They're all so exciting. They're so young. Thinking about just National League All-Stars. Who you got? Acuna, Mookie, Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, Christian Yelich. I mean, all of these guys are MVP
did you say Bellinger?
I didn't mention Bellinger. So you got MVP caliber players here that all play in the outfield. Picking the All-Stars for the next 10 years is going to be Acuna is going to need to keep his game up so he can get some All-Star appearances.
They all are. They're going to have to all continuously get better because, I mean, you have Mike Trout, who's just at the pinnacle of baseball. That dude is already getting mentioned with guys like Ted Williams and guys like that. I mean, it's pretty amazing that's
another level. Yeah.
Yeah. He exactly. Like you see these guys being like, oh, he's one of the best players in baseball now. Like you have guy like Mike Trout who's being known as a generational player.
Yeah. Hall of Famer right now. If he broke his leg and couldn't keep going, Hall of Famer. I'm voting for him. I mean, I have no vote. Hopefully one day the first one of the podcast will get me to be able to have a vote. But that's crazy that he is already at that level of play in his career. But yeah, I mean, we have designated hitter. We got Nelson Cruz, another free agent, 4 years old. Doesn't look like he's aging. He just looks the same. Nothing looks different to me when he swings a bat. It's just he's great, and he I think he was a big reason for the upsoar in power and everything that went on in Minnesota. It's clear he's teaching these young kids and these young players, the Max Keplers, you know what I mean? He's giving them some type of advice, and you can tell he was a big part of that team. And hopefully it's not, which needles to pick, because Cruz has that in his background a little bit, but we
Yeah,
can hope that he has taken the high
yeah,
road from here on out.
yeah. I mean, well, we thought that with Robinson Cano too, but that just didn't.
Doesn't always pan out. Now he's a former
No,
Yankee, he's a Met, so we
yeah.
we
I
don't
mean, if
expect the best from them.
no, I mean, if people want to keep talking about cheating with the Astros, my Red Sox, I mean, the Yankees invented cheating, so I don't know how that works out,
All right.
but that's neither here nor there. And then catcher was JT Realmuto, another free agent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how many we've seen on just these two lists of just free agents who are all MLB players. Like these guys are looked at as top notch players right now, and they're hitting the free agent market, and
And
God only knows what they're going to make.
it's going to be weird, yeah, because the money there's a lot of mixed messages. It's hard to know. It's hard to know what
Yeah.
kind of money these teams are going to be willing to spend.
Trust me, coming from Philadelphia, I know exactly what you're talking about when you say about being strapped for cash. Like you said before the pod, I mean, it's John Middleton making it sound like he's outside begging for quarters. So, I mean, I guess we'll see where these guys end up. I mean, JT is a phenomenal player, but the problem with JT, I feel like, is he wants so much.
Yeah.
And he's got to realize what his position one. You're a catcher. You're not a 7 or 8 year commitment. I mean, we kind of saw that with Buster Posey right now. I mean, COVID made Posey not play this year,
and it's looking like maybe an iffy investment. We'll see what he is this year, but yeah.
I mean, and then you have you have guys like Albert Pujols who are at the end of their career who are looking like iffy investment. I mean, not iffy, but like it's at the end of his career, and he's what he
drain.
is.
He's a weight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's just there. He's there. I mean, he's still productive somewhat, but he's just there.
Yep.
So I mean, that's
just there getting $32 million a year. Yeah.
Yeah, which is hysterical, to be honest. I mean, I don't know, but yeah, I mean that's the first and second All MLB teams. We just covered that pretty fast. I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, but before we're going to go to the next topic, I want to tell everybody to please follow the Buzz. Get on there. I mean, this whole thing's brought to you by them. They're everything that they have as far as I mean, they have a ton of wrestling content. We've talked about that. It's just, there's so much content that's going on here, and I'm going to play a little ad for you guys for them, and then we'll get on to our next topic.
Get the Lambo car, house in the hills with the stars. Told you I'd raise the bar, told you that I go far. Baby, it's crystal clear. I'm not a souvenir. I'm not an accessory. I'm a necessity, so come and check me out now. I'm a necessity, so come and check me out now.
All right. So next topic I want to talk about is Dave Dombrowski to the Phillies. Dave, are you as confused about it as I am? I mean, like not like confused, but like I don't know. I referenced this before, and I thought it was pretty funny. I saw Jared Carrabis from Barstool talked about he tweeted something before, and it said giving Dave Dombrowski a market with no money, giving him a team with no money, no prospects, is like asking Aaron Judge to write a memoir about his World Series experience. It's just very like it's just a big question mark. Like what? Like he's a spender. He's a trader. He's a spender. Not trader. He trades players, and he's a spender. That's what he does, and he wins. He wants to win now.
Yep.
He's not somebody who wants to win like 5 years from now. He's not someone who's going to grow your franchise. He's somebody who's going to do something as far as like he wants to win. He wants like he did to the Red Sox. He got rid of Juan Moncada and Michael Kopech and said we're going to get Chris Sale.
Yep.
They're two of the top. I mean, you have Juan Moncada, who was the number one prospect in baseball, and he just shipped him out and brought in Chris Sale and then signed him to, I think it was like close to $30 million a year or $30 million a year. I mean, he signed him to a nice deal.
Yeah.
So that's what he does. And he does not have that luxury. From what John Middleton says, he does not have that luxury to do that here. He has to go outside and pray that he sees someone playing baseball in a yard who can throw fast, like in that movie with Justin Timberlake. When they find that random kid who's just throwing heat. Trouble with the curve. That's what it's called. Trouble with the curve. He sees some kid who's throwing curveballs, and he can't beat the number one prospect in baseball or whatever he is. That's who he's hoping that he finds on the street. And I don't know if that's what exactly he's thinking, but like he's definitely not telling me that he's ready to compete tomorrow.
He's Mr. Short Term. And when you have the Phillies, they looked like they were built to win now. You know, they put all that money into Bryce. They put that money into Zach Wheeler. You know, they looked like they were building to win, but they have no bullpen, which we'll talk about more. And they've got underachievers like not Hoskins. Hoskins does well, but Scott Kingery has well underachieved. Odubel Herrera's life collapsed, and they just lost.
He can't read a fly ball.
Core. Yeah, and he can hit women, but not the baseball.
I honestly think I have a better chance of having Floyd Mayweather read a book than Odubel Herrera read a fly ball.
Which is not good when you're supposed to be a peak center fielder in the major leagues, by the way.
No, I mean he was a shortstop. He was a middle infielder in throughout the system and stuff like that. So it was when they were kind of just like, "Can you play center field?" He was like, "Sure," and he realized it is extremely difficult to play center field.
And that means that they need to rebuild, right? They need to find some young talent, build up the farm.
Yeah,
you know, move in that direction. So you would go get a guy like Alex Anthopoulos, or you would go get, you know, a wheeler and a dealer who works in the minor leagues. Instead, they get Dombrowski, who's like a 3-year plan guy. We're gonna win right now, and then I'm gonna sell everybody, and we're gonna be terrible.
Yeah.
And since they're not gonna win right now, they're not good enough. They need several pieces. As an NL East, you know, rival, I love it. It's just the best thing ever. So he can just tank the Phillies for the next 4 or 5 years.
That'd be great.
And
for you, it would be great.
Exactly.
For 95% of my friends, it would not be great.
If I were a Phillies fan, I would not be pleased.
I saw. I looked at the comments and I saw D-Bake said they wrote Theo Epstein a blank check, and he said no. It's funny that they're writing him blank checks, but not any talent on the field.
Right?
Like, you know what I mean? Like you wrote him a blank check, but then you looked at JT Realmuto and said, "Yeah, we can't afford you, man."
Yeah,
but we'll have somebody in the front office probably making more than you will. Than we're even willing to offer you. It just, I don't know. I kind of find that to be a little crazy, but.
And you know, Epstein, he broke 2 curses. You know, he's Mr. Amazing. But they also seem like kind of short-term plans, like especially in Chicago. It'll be interesting to see what Hoyer can do, but the Cubs do not seem set up for success.
No, and I'm a Red Sox fan, so in 2004, that team was really Dan Duquette's team. That had a lot of Duquette on it with Manny Ramirez. I mean, there was Nomar Garciaparra, who Duquette was actually asked, "Would you ever trade Nomar Garciaparra?" And he kind of gave the same answer that John Middleton made when it came to Zach Wheeler, which was ridiculous when he said that he wouldn't trade him for Babe Ruth or Ted Williams.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you trade him for 2 dead guys? I mean, you know what I mean? Like, but in their prime, if you're not trading Zach Wheeler for Ted Williams or Babe Ruth, you're an idiot. You're just not, which is why the Phillies have 2 World Series in 137 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It baffles, like it does. It baffles me when you look at it like that and you just think to yourself, like, this is like there's a reason why this team doesn't succeed, and it's a lot to do with developmental. The developmental sucks, and it has sucked for years. I mean, people you keep bringing up. They bring up these prospects, or they draft like Mickey Moniak, for instance. He was the number 1 overall pick there.
Mm-hmm.
But Mickey Moniak, like they blame him for not being good. I don't know, like he was a senior in high school when he got drafted number 1 overall. How do you blame him, but you don't blame developmental?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like it kind of like I always think that like you can't. How do you blame the player there, but you don't blame him?
Middleton had a great quote, which I read MLBTR, so a little free advertising for them.
I love it.
But they had a quote in there from Middleton where he said the Phillies' problem is, and I thought it was hilarious that he spoke about them in the third person when he's their president. But the Phillies' problem is they don't evaluate talent. Okay, well then what do you do? Because that's the entire job of a front office. Like what? You're good at selling tickets. Like evaluating talent is the whole point.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't get how you like. What do you think you put out on the field? Good people. There's really nice guys. You know what I mean? Like,
which Odubel Herrera shows probably not.
They nailed it. They nailed it with him. But yeah, it does. It kind of like I just don't understand. Like the Dave Dombrowski thing is kind of just confusing, just because of that. Mainly, it's they don't really have any interest in buying, so or really selling. I mean, I don't know what they're going to sell. I mean, you have. I mentioned last year that I thought that during Rhys Hoskins' went on like this nice run for probably like 2 weeks where he was just on a tear, and they didn't look like they were a playoff team. The Phillies did not look like a playoff team at all during this stretch. Like they were still in there, but they really weren't. When you really looked at the grand scheme of things, this team is not a playoff team. So when I looked at them, and I was like, this is a perfect opportunity to trade Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah,
and I would have did it for Mike Clevenger.
Oh yeah,
at the time. You need starting pitching. Don't get me wrong. Hindsight, he ended up getting hurt, and now he's out for all of this year. But you still have you have one contract control player like Rhys Hoskins getting traded for another one in Clevenger, who you need.
Yeah,
you need starting pitching. You need pitching in general. I mean, you don't like to go with Nola and Zach Wheeler. You add him plus and then Trevor Bauer's coming out next year, who's best friends with Clevenger. That's also another pitch there.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like they could have really added something good there, and they whiffed on it again.
And I like Hoskins, but he plays first base. He's a bad outfielder, not a premium position guy. So yeah, when he gets hot, when he's riding a wave, they should be shopping him hard. And they're going to run out of time because he's going to start getting more expensive in arbitration. He's going to start getting a little older, and pretty soon you're stuck. Do we extend this fan favor, or do we let him walk and everybody hates us? And that's how teams stay bad.
And this is the thing. Like I would rather them try to trade him now to where they can help themselves out in the future, where they don't look. And I just saw D-Bake just said he should play DH. See now DH. If you sign him say you want to keep him and you sign him long term, the issue with that is then you're at the point where you have Harper in the outfield, who will end up being moved in, who end up being DH. He's going to be a DH eventually in his career.
And he's already kind of becoming a drain. He's a decent corner outfielder, and he won't be for long. Yeah, absolutely.
And then you have Alec Boehm, who is much better at first base than he is third.
Yeah.
So really, where does that really leave Hoskins later on? It doesn't leave him anywhere. It leaves him what should be kind of off the team. Like, but you don't want to get to the point where he's off the team because time just ran out on free agency. Trade him now while he has value and bring something in here to help this franchise, because you're going to need to do it soon. Because you have the Braves, you have the Mets, who seem like they want to compete yesterday. Yep. You have the Nationals, who just came off a World Series, kind of like what usually happens. You have a rough year, and there wasn't that additional games that they had the year prior that ended up being beneficial to them in getting to the playoffs. And then you have the Marlins who made the playoffs and were better than the Phillies last year, and they pretty much played with nobody last year. They had 3 different teams at one point because of COVID.
Quick thing about the Marlins. So the Phillies have all this money on their balance sheet, can't spend anything. You look at the Marlins, and I was looking at this the other day. They got one guy signed through 21. I can't remember her first name now. Their new GM essentially has anything. Yeah. She can do whatever she wants. Yeah. They have nobody on the books. They have almost nobody in arbitration. They're super, super young. They've got all sorts of really interesting talent. So it'll be really easy to tell if she does her job well, because they should be really good in 3 or 4 years. Because there's nothing holding them down. No,
they pretty much have the Phillies minor league system.
They're the opposite of the Phillies.
Yeah, I mean they for JT Realmuto, they ended up getting Jorge Alfaro, who I liked. I liked him with the Phillies. I thought he was a solid ball player. And this is another thing that we talked about before the show went on about Gene Segura and Didi Gregorius. You already have a shortstop. You already had one there. So what was the point of getting a catcher when you already have one?
Oh,
like Jorge Alfaro could have been okay for the next 2-3 years. You know what I mean? Like
at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, exactly. And now you're stuck with no catcher. You're stuck with no Sixto Sanchez, who looked pretty decent last year.
Yeah.
And you're now going to be stuck with no JT Realmuto. So now you completely lost that deal. Completely lost it.
I love it.
I know it's for you. It's a godsend. And then D-Bake just. I mean, they have Marchand, who played well last year. He came up last year towards the end of the year. He didn't play too bad. He wasn't awful. But he's serviceable. He's somebody who can play there. This is why when Phillies fans are screaming for sign JT Realmuto, sign him. I'm only signing him if I'm Middleton, I'm signing him on my terms. I'm signing him on 5 or less years, and probably like 100 million, 100. I might go to 125, but you're not getting 170.
No,
you know what I mean. Like you're not getting
no
150. My max for you is 125 because I'm assuming there would be a bidding war of some sort, and I'm assuming when he does get the offer that he's going to get, he's going to get a good offer. So he's going to go back to the Phillies and be like, hey, this is the offer I got. And the Phillies are probably going to just be like, nah, we're good. We're not good. And which I hope they do in the sense that if it's crazy, I would hate to see them spend on something like that.
Yeah.
I would rather see them spend $125 million elsewhere.
Like on Bauer.
For 1 year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's one of the things that I really did like about him. But yeah, I mean I think we pretty much drained that the Dombrowski thing dry here.
Yeah.
Well, we have there's a couple shows on here on the Buzz that I'm gonna send you to. We have RSH is a wrestling podcast, and show the promo for it.
War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Tell them that's what we ready for. War. Bringing that to competitors. Till we see the confetti fall, be ready for war. Tell them I'm ready, any opponent. The crown heavy and every minute is chosen. A path only fit for kings, and you all know what this court means. What did you enlist for? If it isn't getting more rings, then you gon' have to switch your team. Trust me, it gets more mean. I'm a nightmare going up against your dreams. First step is explosive like a bomb hit. Bet if I let it fly, I cannot miss. And you ain't got a chance at the top 10 when you getting clamped all night by a locksmith. On the block throwing lobs to my top bigs. I'm a chef, no look with the top dish. Tie game, through the pressure as the clock ticks. Crossover, step back, hit a shot, swish. Tell them that's what we ready for. Tell them that's what we ready for.
Sorry, I'm an idiot, and I hit the one that had all of that podcast on there, but still,
Lots
follow
of good
them all.
stuff. Good
lots
stuff.
of good stuff on there. And please go on there, follow all the stuff that we have on there. Also, there is a partnership with Manscaped also going on with the Buzz. Go for a promo, I believe, what is it, 20% off if you do Buzz 2020 as a promo code, and you get 20% off of your next purchase and free shipping as well. So there's that. And then so let's go on to the top free agents. We have a little more time left. I'm going to talk about the top free agents that are out there and where we think they're going to go. I mean, we have. Well, I'll start with the positional players that we'll talk about. So we have DJ LeMahieu. Where do you think he's going to go? What do you think he's going to do?
After that report came out about the Yankees and the gap, the 75 to 100 million, I don't believe that. First of all, that Cashman would really lowball him like that.
No.
So I think he's going to go back to New York. But I think it would be really, really interesting if he came to the National League.
Came back to the National League.
Yeah, and I don't think he's going back to Colorado. But Gavin Lux was such a disappointment that I wonder if the Dodgers aren't thinking about bringing LeMahieu in to play second base. And then you have Muncy. They could alternate back and forth. There's not really an established first baseman there. And the Dodgers seem to always be willing to spend way more than everybody else. And they're always looking to repeat. So that sort of been in the back of my head for a while that they could be interested in him.
If the rich get richer, Christ. Jesus. I mean, if DJ LeMahieu gets onto that lineup,
I know
Mookie Betts and Bellinger and Corey Seager. I mean, good.
It's nightmare fuel, but
oh my god,
you can see it.
Yeah, of course you can. I mean, then I think DJ goes back to the Yankees. I think that's the only logical explanation there. I mean, I think the gap might. I mean, that gap sounds insane, but I don't really see why DJ wouldn't go back. I mean, I think he likes hitting there. I think he likes playing at Yankee Stadium, which who wouldn't? It's a hitter's park. Who wouldn't like hitting at Yankee Stadium? And the fact that you're a Yankee. I mean, there is glare there. I mean, people do respect the fact that they're the Yankees, and it is what it is, And so next I have JT Realmuto.
He's tough. He's tough. Yeah, because he wants so much money. So you think like a dumb team, like the Mariners or the Angels, but I'm not sure they have the money right now. Yeah, dumb team. The Nationals have had an opening at catcher, and the rumors are swirling that they're talking to him.
I sent that earlier.
I can't imagine them throwing 150 million at him.
No.
But I mean, they need a catcher.
Let's see how much you really want it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see Realmuto going within the division. I mean, the Mets. You could tell the Mets were in on him, and then they signed James McCann, and that. But it seemed like the reason why they kind of moved on and went with James McCann instead is because of time. They just didn't think they didn't want to go a long process of courting him and then lose out on James McCann, which I understand. I respect that. And they got him at kind of a bargain. I mean, $10 million a year, 4 for $40. I mean, that's a bargain. For a very good offensive presence at the catcher position, which is already kind of like there's not many. Like I think it's funny when people say like, oh, well, JT Realmuto is the best catcher in baseball. All right, well, it goes JT Realmuto, every other catcher in baseball. Yes. You know what I mean? Like it's not like that gap is so close that people can really say that. It's not like it's an outfielder or like a Mookie Betts and guys like that, like where you can say like, well, I mean, Mike Trout, and then you have Mookie Betts, and then like, no, there isn't that gap. There is a huge gap in between great and whatever. So that's great to me that there's like he's the best catcher. That's like, I mean, I don't know. That doesn't appeal to me.
There's an example of that. The second best catcher currently on the market by FWAR is Kurt Casale from Cincinnati. No one would guess that ever. Like he's a utility infielder backup catcher.
Absolutely.
But he had a good year, 0.7 FWAR in 60 games. That's solid.
Yeah.
But Realmuto is twice as good as that. And then like everybody else is in that little,
Yeah, it's like they're in purgatory. he's here. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it is. There's a gap. So like I really don't like when people say he's the best catcher in baseball. That doesn't really like appeal to me. Like it's not something that like I'm just like yes, he's the best, we got to get him. He's the best catcher in baseball. Like no, that doesn't really. I don't really care about that.
Yeah.
Like that's not why I want him. I think that he's a good player. I think he's very very good. But I think in like 2 years there's going to be somebody else who we're going to be saying is the best catcher in baseball. You know what I'm saying? That's
Exactly. I know exactly what you're saying. It's a very odd place to throw all your money.
absolutely it is. Moving on, we have three outfielders.
Okay.
We have one's an outfielder, and one's really a DH at this point.
Oh.
We have Marcell Ozuna, George Springer, and Michael Brantley.
Oh.
That's some good. I mean, two are definitely more of like people would really care more about, and I would assume that would be Ozuna and Springer.
Mm-hmm.
Where Brantley's going to fly under the radar with some team, and he is going to be something special on a team where he just fits right in.
Yeah.
And a team that I can see him going to, there's actually two players on that I just named that I think go to this team. My Boston Red Sox.
Okay.
I think the Red Sox need another offensive presence. They do.
Yeah.
I mean, they lost their best player last year. I mean, they lost Mookie Betts. They're going to need some more production in that lineup. I mean, pitching is a fucking catastrophe there as well, but offensively, they definitely need some people. JD Martinez isn't getting any younger, and it seems like he's starting to regress.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't mind seeing Marcell Ozuna sneak in there, maybe get like a 2-3 year deal with the Red Sox. We'll let him be misery in outfield for a year as we can assess keep his back going.
Yeah.
But then next year, I believe, is the year that JD Martinez is done. Then you just move in the DH for the next 2 years, and that's a great spot.
That's a good fit
because he is he's a pull hitter too, which is great for Fenway Park. He will absolutely mash at Fenway.
I mean, the 4-homer game was awesome.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like we've seen it. Yeah. We've seen him mash there. So it's like that fit it is one. And then George Springer has been rumored to be on the Red Sox radar, but I actually would like to see Michael Brantley.
Okay.
He's somebody again, like I said, can sloop in and be a good offensive presence for a team. And I think the Red Sox would be a nice spot for him.
Yeah, I mean, the Ozuna to Boston thing makes perfect sense. I know he was talking to Washington early on in the offseason without the DH coming to the NL, which is still up in the air. I don't know if that works. But like you say, you can go through that 1 year where you just hold your nose, kind of like Atlanta did last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, seeing Ozuna go to somebody like Minnesota to replace Cruz or to go to Boston, that makes sense. I'd love to see Brantley come to Atlanta. I feel like he slots in the 2-hole between Acuna and Freeman just gorgeously.
Yeah.
And replaces Ozuna in the outfield, actually a minor upgrade. And maybe he's not quite the bat Ozuna was, but he's just that same idea that Alex Anthopoulos has used the last couple of years, where you've got your core and then you slot in a stud somewhere in that set to make it work. And Donaldson and Ozuna sort of slotted in at the cleanup spot, although Donaldson ended up hitting second for most of the year. Yeah. And I'd put Brantley in that 2 spot, and with his bat skills, get Ozuna or Acuna on base and watch him go to work. So that would be great. Mm-hmm. Actually, early in the offseason, Springer was also rumored to be talking to Atlanta, but he's going to be very expensive, and I don't think the Braves don't usually shell out like that. To me, Springer is sort of the prize on the offensive side, while Bauer, he's the big pitcher. But where Springer goes, that's sort of the winner of the offseason, in my opinion.
I agree. I mean, and we've seen a lot of talks with him with the Mets, and Springer's a great player, and he's going to be somebody who you're going to see a lot of people be interested in. And the reason why Springer's been talked about with the Red Sox is because of Jackie Bradley leaving.
Yeah.
And I know that Jackie Bradley's also being courted kind of by Dave Dombrowski with the Phillies. And because
Okay.
of his past time with them. And I was recently asked about with a friend of mine who's a Red Sox, who's a Phillies fan, who actually recently asked me how I felt about Jackie Bradley. I mean, it was a two-part conversation because I have comments about Dave Dombrowski, and then I have comments about Jackie Bradley. I love Jackie Bradley's glove. Jackie Bradley is a guy who will save you 100 runs. He's not going to drive you in 100 runs. You know what I mean? He's a guy who is a phenomenal outfitter. He's a great defensive player, but he's a fucking liability at the plate sometimes. Like he couldn't hit a curveball if he tried. Like
Yep.
if he played for the 2007 Astros, I still don't think he'd hit the curveball. That's where I'm. You know what I mean? Like he would actually be told, "Hey, bud, it's a
Yeah.
curveball."
Zach
And,
Greinke,
yeah,
Greinke could yell it out to him and still throw it
yeah,
by.
exactly. You know what I mean? It's like, and his numbers actually backed it up. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I actually just saw. I sent it to a buddy of mine of like the stat of it. Give me 1 second.
He's one of those guys who has, I was talking about Ozuna had all that F4, but it's all his bat.
Mm-hmm.
JBJ he's one of the better outfielders on the market in terms of F4, and it's all glove. Like nearly an entire,
Yeah, absolutely.
an entire win above replacement in 60 games, and I think he hit like 220. He got on base like a 330 clip. Like he's very poor at the plate, but he's so valuable because he's such a great defender.
So last year,
like a Kevin Kiermaier, but go ahead.
Exactly. Kevin Kiermaier should have won the Gold Glove this year, but I've talked about that in my other pod, and it is what it is. So I saw a stat. So his batting average against fastballs is 383.
Solid.
He saw 59.1% fastballs last year. So it was 494 of the pitches that he saw were fastballs. 191 were breaking balls. He batted 105 against breaking balls. His slugging was 184 versus breaking balls. His slugging versus fastballs was 535. So if you don't throw him a fastball, he is dead to rights. He has zero clue what's going on.
He's pathetic.
Yeah, it's brutal actually watching him try to hit a curveball. And again, I like Jackie, and I would not mind seeing the Sox bring him back. If the Sox brought him back, I wouldn't mind seeing them bring him back on a 1-year deal, something small, nothing crazy, because he doesn't bring anything offensively. But I also would not mind seeing the door close on him and see the fuck later. You know what I mean?
And
bring in
George
somebody.
Springer upgrade would be like night and day, because he's a great defender and an awesome hitter.
Absolutely, and he can get on base. He's got a nice slugging. He can hit for power. So I'm all for that, and it's three things that we don't see from Jackie Bradley. Yep. So I mean that's and he's a right-handed bat, which I feel like sometimes the Sox can tend to lax in when it comes. I mean, they
lefty heavy.
Yeah, they can be a little lefty heavy sometimes. I mean, they have Verdugo, they have Rafael Devers, they have two young players who are left-handed who will hit at the top of the lineup. So why not bring in somebody like a George Springer who can also hit at the top of the lineup and bat right-handed, and he can go right next to, and then you have number 2 or number 3, the Xander Bogaerts. That'd be a great move for them. And then who else? Justin Turner, a guy who you were a fan of.
I mean, my two guys in my mind, if I'm Alex Anthopoulos, I'm thinking about Michael Brantley or Justin Turner, because Atlanta has those holes in the outfield or third base, depending on what you're going to get from Austin Riley.
Yeah.
And they're both leadership type guys. They're culture guys that'll come in and immediately gel with your team and bring a lot offensively, or at least, I mean, Turner was a little bit less himself last year, but I still think he's got stuff to bring. And so that they just fit perfectly. Otherwise, I feel like Turner could play anywhere because he's that type of a culture guy. So, sky's the limit for him. And I'm not even sure he's asking for that much money. I mean, I'm sure he's not shortchanging himself, but he's got to know he's not worth 90, 100 million.
You're in your 30s. You're playing a third base, and I mean, third base is pretty much what's going to make him his money, playing that position and his offensive and how he plays offensively. But I mean, he's still getting older. You're not going to get many years. He's not going to get the 5-year deal
Right. A
You know what I
3-year
mean?
deal with an option. That seems like
Yeah.
what
It's-
he should be looking for. Exactly.
Yeah. Nelson Cruz.
Man, I wouldn't pay him anymore, but
Zero clue where he would go.
yeah.
I looked and I thought to myself, like, I was like, where would he fit? But he's 40. I mean, again, like I said, he's not getting any younger. I mean, he's not getting any younger, but he doesn't look like he's getting older.
I know.
So you're kind of in like a weird move where it's like, where do I put him? I don't know, and I can't think of a team that would. I mean, the Blue Jays maybe.
Or the Tigers, but
The
why would
Tiger-
they?
yeah.
Why would they spend to bring a 40-year-old DH on board? But
Yeah, you know what I mean. And
if Cruz wants to play, maybe that's where he goes and plays. You know?
yeah, exactly. And I think what's kind of fucking guys like him is the fact that the National League is not bringing the DH because that's all he's got.
Right. So that's half the league that's close off to him.
Yeah, now it's 15 teams now that you're looking at.
He was a
where
bad
am I gonna
outfielder
be?
10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. 10 years ago, and now
Just ask the
we're
Rangers.
here. Yeah, exactly. So now we're here, and we're like, well, where do you put him? Could he go back to the Rangers? Could that be a team he can go? You know what I mean? Like
They have enough DHs, but
yeah, that's literally all they are is DHs. There's a bunch of DHs.
oh,
I mean, I think I saw someone get like upset when they got rid of Nomar Mazara, but like, what the fuck is he? He's a DH. He's like everyone else on that team.
and he was atrocious last year.
Yeah, exactly. And he was at the White Sox, right? That's where he was
Yeah.
last year. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Barely hit his
mean,
weight.
the White Sox, they're another team.
Yeah,
that could be in on
I
him.
mean, they've got a bunch of those sort of right-handed first base, right field types that DH, you know. But they've also got that Cuban culture where they're all real athletic and exciting. So Cruz fits in that really well.
Absolutely. And they just had Edwin Encarnacion last year, and you're kind of just exchanging old
another
player
old
for another.
smasher for another one, right?
But I mean, obviously, I don't think it's any secret. Nelson Cruz is better than Edwin Encarnacion is.
Maybe he's ever been.
Yeah, ever. There's never really been a time when the Parrots ever really been better than him. You know what I mean? So it's like you're still bringing a 40-year-old Nelson Cruz who's still better.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's where I'm at with that. And I think so. I guess the Rangers and the White Sox, I think, would be two teams that could possibly like him.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet your house on it, but they make sense.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to make sense of it, but I really wouldn't put my house on him playing anywhere. You know what I mean? So it's like,
yeah, maybe in Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. All right, starting pitchers. Let's run through this. We got Trevor Bauer, John Lester, Cole Hamels, Jake Odorizzi, Corey Kluber, Masahiro Tanaka. They're the six that I looked at and thought, like, they're probably the most realistic to sign somewhere and be productive, if you will.
Sure.
I mean, John Lester, I mean, I think the classic thing that everyone keeps looking at is the Red Sox.
Back to Boston, yeah.
I saw that a couple times. I'd be welcome to it, but I doubt Chaim Bloom would be.
Yeah.
I don't see Chaim Bloom saying, okay, I'm going to bring you back for just to have you have like a I'm back in Boston tour.
Yeah.
You
like
know?
Like a celebratory little victory lap. Because, I mean, really, Lester could just hang it up. I mean, he's had a great career. He really wasn't very good last year.
Mm.
He's old, man. So he could just be done.
Yeah, and I wouldn't. I mean, I kind of want to see the Sox get younger. I don't want to see them bring on. I mean, I feel like we're already kind of crutched with Chris Sale in the next couple of years, and that god awful Dave Dombrowski, Nathan Eovaldi deal that he gave him. You're kind of still crushed with that, so you don't really want to. And what would he really be asking for? You know, it's like, and he's not much of a ground ball pitcher anymore. He's not much of a strikeout guy anymore. He is more of a contact guy, which kind of scares you playing in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
He's not who he was then. He's not who he even was in 2016. So, 2016. So what are you really getting if you're getting John Lester back? Nothing.
Right.
You're kind of just celebrating the fact that he once played there and then kind of chalking up another season when it seems like they want to compete.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't do it.
No, me neither. Cole Hamels.
I don't even want to talk about Cole Hamels.
Yeah, I mean, he was kind of a mess. He was kind of a mess in Atlanta.
He robbed the Braves blind, is what he did.
Yeah, which it is what it is. I feel like it was kind of like his revenge for the Phillies.
Oh, right.
I'm going to rob the Braves, and then I'm just not going to play. But it is what
18
it
million
is.
for 6 innings.
Yeah,
Not even
exactly.
6. It's like 3 innings.
Yeah, and he's another one. I don't really see a market really for him right now. I mean,
what are you going to get from him?
Exactly, and you're not, and with the National League, I mean, you could probably get him on a National League team to where, I guess, having the pitcher hit, you're kind of like put him in a division where it's like he won't get too banged the fuck up if he plays for where DH is constantly. But this is probably his last year. Cole Hamels really doesn't. I mean, Cole Hamels doesn't really have much left in the tank, and he really hasn't really been crazy productive.
Not for a while.
Yeah, it's been a couple years since I've really looked at a Cole Hamels start and thought like he looked really good. I think his last start in Philly was probably when he threw the no-hitter against the Cubs. That was probably the last time I really looked at Cole Hamels and thought he looks good.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So it's been a little bit since I really said. So I really don't know what the market is on him. And I haven't really seen anybody really like say they want him or I have rumors on him.
Yeah.
So I don't know where that's at. Then the next 1, 2, 3, 4. The next 4 are kind of interesting. You have Trevor Bauer. I don't know what he's going to do because it sounds like he's 1 minute he's telling you he's going to sign a 1-year deal, and then the next minute you don't really know what the fuck he's doing. So I don't know where he's going to be at.
Yeah, I mean, the way he talks, he could sign with anybody, but they're going to have to pay a pretty penny.
Oh yeah, it's going to be at a premium. You're not going to get him at, like a small market.
And free market forces, if we just like put a number on his production over the last couple of years, you could conceivably pay him $45 million. I mean, he's that much better than what's available. He was so good last year. Now, obviously, nobody's going to do that.
No.
But something like 2 or 3 years at $35 million a year.
It's doable. Yeah, it's doable. And I can see, and from what it sounds like, I saw him do it. He has his own show and he does this. Yeah. He did this thing where it was like this kind of like talking about the top 5 teams that have been the top 5 fan bases that have been courting him. And he seemed like he was pretty impressed by the Angels, and and it seems like it's the most logical fit. Like you need somebody. You need starting pitching out there. They need starting pitching. They need pitching in general, but they need to win. Mike Trout cannot go his whole career with 1 playoff appearance.
It's a travesty.
It's an absolute travesty. He needs to be in postseason baseball, and I think that's a huge reason why it's hard to market him.
Yeah.
Because he's not anywhere and it's hard to market a player who plays at 10 o'clock at night on the East Coast. You know what I mean? So it's like, you're going to need him in playoff baseball for people to actually want to watch 10 o'clock baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, Trevor Bauer. I mean, yeah, Trevor Bauer seems like that seems like the easiest, obvious place for Trevor Bauer is the Los Angeles Angels.
The money gets weird though because they've got a ton of money at Trout, a ton of money at Pujols, and a ton of money at Justin Upton,
and Rendon,
and Rendon. So you're looking at that's $150 million tied up with 4 guys. You throw a 5th guy on that, and you're carrying twice what the Pirates are paying their entire team on 5 guys. Yeah. LA can support it, but it's not usually a formula for long-term success.
Absolutely not. And it's definitely something that needs to be addressed, and they need the starting pitching. So I can't see them not being like, I can't see Artie Moreno just sitting back and going, I really can't do this. Like, no, you have to. It's not like a can you, it's you have to.
Nope. You got to at least try.
Yeah, and you have to. There's no way around that. You have to try. Then we have Corey Kluber, Masahiro Tanaka, and Jake Odorizzi. Jake Odorizzi, I saw rumors about him, and I saw Kluber, and I'm going to sound like I'm biased. The Red Sox. I saw them being mentioned with both teams. I saw both them being mentioned. But the Red Sox, from what I hear, are being very aggressive, and they want to compete. So pitching is an issue, they're going to go out and get pitching. But I
I'm not-
mean, yeah,
I was just saying, I'm not real sold on Odorizzi as a frontline guy. Like, I think
Yeah,
he's
neither.
good, but
Yeah.
he's kind of a 2, a 3. If you're thinking of how your lineups, your rotation stacks,
yeah,
he's good. He's had some
he's
injury
definitely more than
issues,
three.
but yeah, he's sort of back half, middle of the rotation type of guy. And in
Yeah.
this market, because he had a solid year last year, he looks like a front end guy. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of money he gets.
Yeah, and I think that's another thing that Trevor Bauer's probably doing. He wants to see them guys sign first, which is just smart. I don't
Yeah,
see
well-
why. You know what I mean? It's
When the Braves inked Drew Smiley to an $11 million deal, and Smiley is at best a 5 or a back and forth, bullpen rotation guy, I think the rest of the pitchers had to get kind of happy because
absolutely.
that's to me that was a lot of money. Like I was looking at that thinking, I like Smiley, it fills a need, but did he really deserve 11 million?
Did he really just set the market?
Yeah, right. Like did Drew Smiley, the guy that probably could have sat out the year and nobody would have noticed,
Yeah,
and he may have sort of set a floor to the market where Odorizzi's going to demand 15. How dare you pay me less than Drew Smiley?
yeah. I mean, it's weird. It's a very weird. I feel like the starting pitching was kind of Trevor Bauer, and then it was just a bunch of other guys. That,
Rick Porcello is actually the second best name in terms of FWAR.
Yeah,
I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him.
Trust me, I don't trust him at all.
His
I think
peripherals were horrible.
If I'm not mistaken, I think he is the guy. And I'm almost positive. I think he's only good, and this is real weird. He's only good in even years or odd years. It's one of the two. He's one of. If you look at his numbers, he's actually better in even or odd years, but that's it. Then it's literally every other year he pretty much sucks. And then he comes on like the year he won the Cy Young, which he should have won the Cy Young, but
No.
the year he won the Cy Young, whatever year that was one of the years. I think that was like 2013. No, not 2013, because they won the World Series in 13. Probably like 14 or 15 he won it. And because they got him after they won the World Series.
Yeah.
So he won the World Series. So it was whatever year that was the year that he got it. And he had 20 wins. And that's why he beat Justin Verlander, who had a much better year.
Significantly better year.
Yeah.
But Porcello will go to a dumb team like the Mariners. I mean,
Yes, and that's exactly what's going to happen. He's going to go to someone like that, and he'll probably have a really good year on a 1-year deal, and then
it'll look good. He'll win 15
exactly
games, but his ERA will be 6.
Yeah, exactly.
Just a typical Porcello season.
Yep, and everyone will be in awe of his win totals.
Yeah.
Masahiro Tanaka.
See, I thought Tanaka was going back to New York. In fact,
That's what
I appeared on another show on our network and made that claim. And it seems like there's distance there. I've read some stuff that talk about how they haven't really touched base, that Tanaka's winning the market, that Cashman's not really sure he fits with them, which I think is really interesting. Because Tanaka, I could see him maybe going to the Cubs, somebody who gets a lot out of a pitcher that maybe doesn't look all that great otherwise. And Tanaka has shown the ability to be a frontline guy.
Absolutely.
But he hasn't been consistent with it. So as a GM, I'd be really afraid of him. But I feel like somebody will jump in and give him a lot of money.
Yeah, and you know what? And that could be another place where you could see the Mariners.
Yeah, another dumb team.
And but they also have a huge Japanese following, and you see a lot of Japanese players and Korean players. You see a lot of them go to the Mariners because of the area.
And Hisashi Iwakuma is retired now, so they have a spot there to fill. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah,
and that's just another team that I think would welcome him. But I could also see him going back to Japan and playing there.
Yep.
So it's kind of up in the air where guys like that would go, and it kind of just goes to show just by naming some of these players, it's pretty much just Trevor Bauer and, like you said, it's crazy, but Jake Odorizzi and then everyone else. Where they go is where they go, and it's kind of just going to fill spots. Probably a bunch of 1-year deals, with an or even one with an option for a 2. You're not going to really see much out of that.
And that's the kind of deals you're seeing signed early. I mean, they're not big names. I mean,
Yeah.
the Mike Minor deal in Kansas City,
Mhm.
it's a 2-year deal with an option. So and it's what, 18 million.
Yeah.
So you're not talking about a ton of money. Now, Minor was very good last year,
Yeah.
and he has the potential to be a pretty big piece for them. But people aren't going to be spending. I mean, the fact that Realmuto and these guys are asking for hundreds of millions, DJ LeMahieu, they're probably not reading the market right, and they're
No,
probably not going
absolutely
to get
not.
that money.
No. And it's going to be and I think a lot of it has to do, obviously it does. It has to do with COVID. I mean, you're
Yeah.
going to see a lot of 1-year deals this year, and I think you're going to see a lot of guys come out next year and go, well, now this depending on how things are, you're going to see a lot of people come out and be like, all right, well, this is where we're at. This is when I'm going to try to get my deal.
And we'll see what the CBA does to arbitration and does to minor league pay scale.
Yep.
And there's a lot of changes on the sort of soft underbelly of baseball that are on
100%.
the horizon that are
Absolutely.
fascinating, but
Mhm.
they could change a lot of stuff.
I couldn't agree more. But yeah, man, that's all I got. That's all we got today.
Awesome.
And had a great time, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun.
Absolutely. You're going to be on a couple more times. I can promise
Sounds
you.
good.
We had a good time tonight. All right, everybody. Be well. I'll see you then.